Is it actually? This is like college game day. No, it's literally
you take a college class, you can
I just know modern day. I only know one person. Besides, like transparent. On No.
Just let and then if you want to know what you want. Girls bathroom.
Where's your? Oh, right here. Yeah.
So I was wondering. I was like, what was this rock spot? Yeah, I know that now. The signs are changed areas. I didn't even look at the sign.
Oh, the camera. I didn't look at the Zoom. So if you're in, I doubt you can see. Maybe it does. It's all like
We're only
a couple hours and a half. Are you
Wait.
That's what she's looking at my camera.
60 is the reason it's going right. You're 50, okay.
It's like
Oh, it's amazing.
Sure, man. Okay, that camera
Good morning, everybody. We are going to get started here. If you guys haven't yet, there's candy down here in these green containers.
Make sure you throw your trash, or just hang on to it, make sure it gets in the trash.
Did you guys see that? Yeah, it's Jackson.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get started here. First of all, welcome everybody to the third Annual SKORDLE School. Appreciate you guys all coming. I know we have a handful of people online that are also watching. We have a lot of existing schools that are here, so thank you guys for the existing schools. And then also we have some newer schools that have just recently signed up with us, as well as some schools that aren't currently streaming with anybody. So welcome everyone today for that. So kind of how we're going to go about this, just so you guys are aware, is Sean Widley, that is superintendent at Canton, is going to be helping me a lot today. Sean was originally at Garber, one of our first schools that ever live streamed with us. So he actually has more knowledge than even I do about SKORDLE. So we are going to go through just basic SKORDLE setup. So some of this for you guys have been doing this a while. It's probably not going to be anything that you haven't ever seen before, but you got to remember there's a lot of new schools that are in our network. Good. Then what we're going to do also is we'll talk about some advanced features, and then this is incredibly informal. So if you have a question at any time, please raise your hand, ask questions. That's the idea behind this. We want you guys to obviously learn. We're going to try to cover as many common issues as far as resetting your camera. If your camera ever gets disconnected, resetting your audio. If you ever have audio with that. One thing that we cannot cure is internet issues, and about 95% of the time, your issue is the internet. So what I always tell people is have multiple options for the internet. One thing great about our platform, with it being local in Oklahoma, you don't have to have some super powered internet to run one of our streams. So with that being said, I'm going to hand the mic over to Sean, and Sean's just going to go through some basic setup for SKORDLE, and then him and I are just going to kind of walk through this. And at any time, if you guys have any specific questions, like I said, raise your hand and we'll answer any of those questions. All right, we're going to look at it as, oh, that was the bell. I thought I was feedback. All right. We're going to look at a few things. Like you said, I know some of you are in different places along the way on your knowledge of setup, on your game setup and everything. So we're just going to talk about a basic setup and get into some things. The other thing is, every time we do this, you get reminded of something that you forgot about that may be out there. So this will be beneficial to everyone. So on your website on the back end, I think everybody knows that you can create an event just by logging in and going to your streaming schedule and clicking on a new event. So I'm not going to get into too much detail there. We're going to deal more with our setup. Once your events are created, I tell people all the time, there's only really 2 or 3 things you need to change from week to week or game to game. Yes?
Well, you keep going.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, so there's really only a couple of things you need to change from game to game or week to week. And for the teachers in here, I'm going to tell you right now, and I say this every time, I, ahead of time, create a new profile for every game. Sometimes we mess up and the kid has to try to get in there, but I don't want the kids digging around on the back end at all and trying to figure out some settings. So every day or 2 before the game, I will create a new profile for that game. I'll label it King versus Kenneth Douglas, and it's there, and all they got to do is click on it, and they know it's ready to roll. So the biggest things there are our stream key, which I love. These are in order. So top left is your stream key. That's important. We'll copy and paste that in to our VMix profile. The other thing is your scoreboard link. Now, there's a ton of scoreboards out there, but there's a new thing that just released about a week or 2 ago that Corey's developed that is really going to be helpful for some of you. So we'll get into that also. So we're going to copy and paste those into our profile. So when you open your profile and get it up and running, the stream key is the first and most important thing. This is telling VMix where to send the broadcast. And stream is at the bottom. We're just going to click on the gear and paste that new key in where it says stream name or key. The second part, and I can't open 2 profiles, but I do have the old scoreboard on here still. Okay, I do have it. The second thing to look at is the scoreboard. Now, I've already moved over to the new scoreboard, and I'll show you why here in a little bit. But if you're still using this scoreboard or the gray one with the logos on it, we've got to put a game ID in that scoreboard. So the second thing on your back end is the top middle, and that's the scoreboard data link. So I can click on that to copy, and we've got to replace the scoreboard data link. This is the one that when I first started, I could never remember. They call it the hamburger icon. It's just 3 lines at the bottom in red. If you'll click on that, and the very first thing listed is your data sources manager. This is telling your ticker, your scoreboard, where to look back to get that game data. So you don't have to input school names. You don't have to input logos or school colors. It's going to pull it because SKORDLE guys on the back end have already created that. So we're going to go, if mine's called 2025 scoreboard, and I'm going to change the settings there and do game info. So just copy and paste into there. And that will automatically pull up your scoreboard with your name, team names, colors, and logos. And that's the basics. That's essentially all we need when we create a profile. You can do some other things, and a lot of us do, to help you out. One thing that a lot of schools do, and I started doing it because the SKORDLE crew does it, is I go ahead and put the scoreboard info in here, so I don't have to flip back and forth from a web browser and VMix.
So to do this, is anybody, yes?
Okay, on the new scoreboard, does it automatically have a clock on it, or do you
Yeah.
still have?
It does.
Yeah, it does.
You control the clock through this.
Okay.
So I told some people, so I've had some people ask if we can go back to having the spacebar control it. We're gonna try to see if we can add that feature to it. If not, I would get a mouse, because a trackpad kind of is delayed. A mouse, you can just keep the cursor over the clock. It's the best option we have, because a lot of people just don't even use the clock because they don't have enough manpower to do it. So we were trying to figure out like what would be the easiest thing. So Sean's gonna actually show you the new scoreboard and go through all of it. It's got down and distance, timeouts, flag. It'll show, you can throw a flag, and then when you do like a baseball or a softball game, it's gonna show runners on base, strikes and balls. Yeah, so it'll be really nice. And it's actually, in my opinion, a lot easier to set up.
It is, it's easier to set up. It's
So-
basically, if you're doing this right here, if you're pasting that website in here to control your score, it's the same thing. And I'll show you here.
He'll show you, but
If
that's a
you're
great
using
question.
if you're using the old scoreboard, you still probably want to copy and paste this browser. All you have to do is when you go down here to add an input, does anybody not have the scoreboard in their emails like this? Then I'm over that. All right. So every time, I thought you said my battery was fully charged there, Ethan. So to change it, you just click on the gears on this web browser and go to change, and you can just copy and paste the new URL in there. And that'll give you the new score, the updated game for you for this. Now the scoreboard, the new scoreboard is completely web-based. So like we said earlier, everything is controlled off of this screen here, the scoreboard screen. If you log in now, and I think everybody's got it.
Yeah, so you can show them how to add it. Everyone has it now. So you'll,
Yeah.
in fact, Paige at Oki noticed it their last game, and she went ahead and used it. So, which kudos to her. I didn't think anybody would do it on their own. So she did. So, and it's actually, like I said, it's a whole lot easier than going through that long process of trying to, go to the data sources manager, all that type of stuff. And then the idea in behind it is for you guys, for it to be much easier to control everything from one place. If you have somebody producing. And then Sean is also going to show you guys if you are in a situation where you don't have somebody that's producing, you can add a second camera, show it on your screen, and you can, squeeze that down, drop it in on your scoreboard, and then you can use the actual scoreboard for that. The other thing that we'll show you guys too is if you happen to have a level focus camera system that you're using, level focus works in our network. So if you ever run into a situation where you don't have people that have manpower and you're wanting to use a motion camera, that'll work in our system too as well. Does anybody have any questions while he's getting that rebooted real quick, or anything that, do you have questions about anything?
Huddle Focus works when it works.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been fighting it for years. We used it a lot. We didn't use it on our high school games. We didn't use it with announcers because you have to delay your audio to sync up, and that sometimes was hard to do. So I never really got that figured out, but we did start filming our elementary and junior high games and just let it run, and it just ran all the way through. That worked really well, actually.
Chad, did you have a question?
Do we, will we eventually get a login for our website? I mean.
Yep. So your website's built, so when Ethan trains you, which will probably be this week since you guys just signed up, he'll go through all that with you. He'll get you access to the back end of the website. So it's probably good for you guys to see all this, because this is what he'll be going through a lot of this with you. So yeah, he'll set it up, and then hopefully it'll get saved to your desktop. That's what they were asking about. They can't find the login to their, so because you want to save all that down and not change it over.
Yes, 100%. On the new scoreboard, because I'll show you guys that, I did mine a little differently, and because Adam, I was driving to the game when he told me about it. So when I got there, I started messing around with it. I made mine a little too big, so I had to move my corners up top. So I'll probably next week just make that scoreboard a little smaller so my corners fit. That scoreboard link is already in your back end. So once a game is created and you go to scoreboard, that's small, but you guys can hopefully see it. It's there at the very bottom. That's the URL for the new scoreboard. So
You guys see that down at the very bottom?
every new game will have that on the scoreboard on the back end. So what you're basically doing is you're adding a web browser to your broadcast as an overlay, and I'll show you that in a second. The only thing that'll change, it's just like before, the only thing that'll change is really the game ID number, but you can copy and paste the whole link in every time.
The other thing that's kind of cool is you can add a game title, say homecoming. So there's a little subject deal right there, so that'll put it on the top of the scoreboard.
Well, that's cool.
Maybe it's senior night, so you can add that type of stuff to the scoreboard too as well.
Where's that show up at?
Should show at the top of the scoreboard. I don't hold you to that, that's what Corey told me. He misspelled squirrel that way. I think everybody gets the gist.
All right. So if you copy and paste this URL, we're going to do an overlay with the scoreboard. And for some of you that don't know what I'm talking about, we're just going to add an input. Remember that new scoreboard is a web browser. So if you're going to add it in, you're going to go down here in the very bottom to add an input. And we're adding a web browser.
Everybody see that? That's the first step you have to do for it to work. Once Sean does all this, it'll save it in your vMix, just so you guys know. Sean, are you gonna walk through how to change it?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
So we're going to paste that URL in there from what we just copied from the scoreboard web browser. I'm not going to do it again because I already have it here. I'll put the new, and once it's in there, I'm just going to change the URL every week, just like you would the scoreboard controller in your vMix. So I'm just going to go to change and paste in the new one. And I don't have to change any settings on anything now. I just copy and paste. And it should have switched over to Cousins Douglas. There it did. And there's what you're saying. So if it's homecoming or there's something that goes in right there on top.
And so all these graphics are saved. So I don't know if you guys have ever remembered our old scoreboard, the white one that just had like a simple logo and a school name. All those are saved in the file. So every school's logo and the name of the school will be in there. So you don't have to worry about any of that either as well.
Okay, so if you're doing this for the first time, you got to get this on your video feed. I had to unplug my camera, but you get the idea. Where it says no signal. So on our video feed, we're going to go up to the settings, the gears, the input settings. And these are called layers. So in vMix, you're going to have layers. And if you have your preset, you'll have a couple of these already in there. You'll already have corners. You'll already have scoreboard. You'll have those. So we're going to rearrange. We can add layers. We can add logos. Anybody use their own logo? Okay, and you probably got it built in there through layers as well.
Yeah, which by the way, we're all for that. I know Keen has Whippet Network. I know Woka has a logo. Cashin has CWTV. Like, promote you guys as school network, please. And Sean can show you with this functionality how you can actually add that onto your screen while you're live streaming. So, and maybe you guys want to add some type of live streaming sponsor for the whole year that's going to help you guys financially with some of the stuff you're doing. And you wanted to put their logo in the upper right-hand corner. You know, we don't want it to look like a NASCAR screen, but you can add things like that, right? Maybe you had somebody like that's sponsoring homecoming, or like Chelsea, I know you guys do like a game sponsor, right, every week? Like you could add their logo as a layer to the screen of that particular game.
Yeah, you can add it. You just go down and add an input down here and add that graphic, which it's just going to be an image right there. Drop that image in there, and then it automatically will then show up on this list once it's added for layers. So you see a lot of old junk on here that I've been playing around with some different things, but What you're gonna wanna do for this new scoreboard is come down here to one of the blank ones and select that input, which mine's called browser capetigers.tv. And I think that's just the auto name you gave it. And you're gonna make sure it's checked. And once it's checked, it'll pop up. Now, because we're adding this, we gotta take stuff off too. And I will say, some of you, that I don't know how they're setting it up, but sometimes like your corners are attached to your SKORDLE logo, which is attached, and sometimes they're not. So just give a call, we can help you out through that. But for instance, I turned off the SKORDLE TV logo because it's in the same place as the new scoreboard. And remember the old one that had it right there. So I unclicked it. Like I said, I did this on the fly. So I made my scoreboard a little too big and had to move my corners. So I'm just going to put that in there. When you put it in there, it kind of just puts it in the center. So now you've got to move it. So to move anything, any of those logos, you just go to edit and you can click and drag down here and put it wherever you want.
Pretty cool, right?
And you can also use your zooms if it's too big, too small. Mine's a little too big. So I'm going to scroll it down a hair so that I can get my corners back in there. And then I can just click and drag it wherever I want. Any questions on adding that scoreboard in? Once it's in, it's saved, and all I'm changing is the URL week to week. That's it. Good?
Does that make sense to everybody? Because that's
Good.
kind of a new feature.
Yeah, this gives you a lot more flexibility in your scoreboards. I think
And show them some of the stuff. Like
you've got down and distance. You can, if there's a penalty flag, you can say, well, this is new too. You can even say who got the penalty. So if you click on that, it should throw a flag. Of course, the game's not going, but your clock is here, and you can start and stop from there. So you do control your clock from this screen now, and not the space bar. It is a web browser, so you will run into some lag sometimes, depending on your connection, but it eventually catches back up. You can show ball possession. I wonder why that's not doing it though. Any ideas? Gonna start a game maybe? Yes.
You're on the wrong game.
well done.
See? I'm telling you,
He was on the wrong scoreboard. He was.
yeah. I'm telling you guys, your kids they're the best because I had two last year. We trained them, they were awesome, and then they were 8th graders, and they became freshmen, but they wanted to cheer, and so I lost them. So I had to train 2 more this year, and these guys are great. Ethan up there, I was showing him how to switch back and forth from commercials to your broadcast, and he goes, well, on Twitch, they do this, this, and this. He goes, surely Phoenix can do the same thing, and he Googled it, and now we have options. So we press 1 to go to commercial, and we would press 2 to come back from commercial, and that's all we have to do. So, Ethan's a smart dude, so thank you. All right. So if we have a flag or position arrow, it changes, there you go. It shows that coming to that has the ball and possession. And it shows that Covington has a flag there. You can go either way with that. Like I said, your game time is here. You can control your game time. It'll put down a distance, and the center is where your game time will show up, and your down and distance will show up, and your quarter, all that's on there. So everything is controlled through there. If you're a school that does softball or baseball, this is huge because what we found out with softball and baseball, it's hard to get a good camera angle, first of all, that shows anything or you see anything. If you don't have an announcer, then you really don't know what's going on. It's basically a radio broadcast is all you can do because you can't get the whole angle. Now that you can show outs, innings, runners, base runners, it's going to be huge for softball and baseball because you can actually get a lot more information on the screen.
Hey, question about softball. You take all that,
Here, let's do this in the mic.
where's there? Yeah, so we can take all of our equipment out to the softball field
It's just so much, like our softball coach was like, I wish we could just have to go for long. I try to explain to them, like, it's a lot of equipment when people say, why don't you stream every game?
Sure.
So do you take all that softball? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, if you don't have an announcer, obviously, but yeah.
We just stream back and forth, we just back and forth.
I've seen you do it at Garber.
Yeah, we've done it through the fence. We've done it, where were we, Shattuck? We're on top of the press, the dugout. Yeah, climbed on top of the dugout, did it there. Some people have press boxes. It is harder, and it's really difficult to get a good angle of anything where you can actually see anything. So because of this, at least you'll have more information for them to know what's going on. Because you can't even tell if it's top or bottom end on the old scoreboard, so now you'll be able to do that.
Now, obviously, if you're going to do softball or baseball and you're going to utilize a new scoreboard, you need to ensure you have somebody that's producing that is equipped to be doing that. Because, correct, because you're going to be able to keep track of balls and strikes. You're going to be able to, like he said, say when any gets in, all that type of stuff will be available on the scoreboard. It'll actually show the runners on the base. It'll have a diamond like with, like a Fox or ESPN would have. You'll be able to do that as well.
And I encourage you guys to just let your kids start digging around in there and find some things, because they'll find, like, the hotkeys. Well, there should be an easier way, and he figured it out. Now we have a one button to commercial. It shows our stinger, and then it shows, what is it, 1 and 2? Okay, so if we're on our screen and then I hit 1, it's going to play our stinger straight into our commercials, or to our video feed. And then 2 is going to go from our video feed, plays our stinger straight into our commercials. So there's a lot of flexibility in vMix, and your kids will figure it out real quick. So I encourage you to let them dig around, adding logos, moving things around. There's a lot there. What are some of the common problems you run into other than connection?
I'll mention 2 of them that are the most common that I get whenever people call me. Losing the camera, like you have. So we'll show you the basic way to regain access to your camera. And just so you guys know, this is technology, right? So a lot of times based on how you open vMix or when you open vMix, all those things. The biggest thing I can recommend to you is you plug everything in first before you ever open vMix.
That's the key.
That will solve all of your problems. You try to open it in the middle of while you're plugging things in, or you do it the reverse, you open vMix and start plugging stuff in. vMix will not recognize equipment. So you have to like switch the USBs, you have to do all sorts of stuff. But there is a way to regain your camera back, so I can have Sean show you how to do that. And we'll also talk about audio, because it's going to happen on audio too, because that's a foreign mixer that's connecting into your laptop. So every once in a while it loses connection to that. Like you could go out and do a test and then go live stream live, and it may not recognize it the next time you hook it up. So just always remember that. And these steps take 20 seconds at the most.
One problem I have is like my kids won't stop the stream at the end of the game. So I would say like having stop the stream and power off the computer.
Yes.
And then the next time when they get to the game, tell them don't turn it on until you get everything hooked up.
Yes, that's what they want. So if we were to hook this, as Adam said, let's say I hooked the camera up after I opened vMix and I forgot, how do I get that picture back? Well, the first thing, 9 times out of 10, the easiest way to fix this is to right-click on your camera screen and reset it. It'll look for that connection again. Now, 9 times out of 10, I said, that works. A couple of reasons that wouldn't work. Number 1, if I plug it in a different port, maybe. Okay? If I plug it in a different port, that may not work. Number 2, if I had to set up a different connection. So don't forget that, like our audio, everything's preset. So the audio cuts off the microphones when you go to commercial. The audio comes back on when you go to commercial. Those are all settings in your video. So on your input settings. So this is, they're called triggers. And this is where if you add a new input or you change your audio input or you lose your mics and you don't do the reset and you just try to add a new input of mics again, all your triggers are going to be off. So you have to redo these triggers. And what the kicker is, it's always the input number. So like right now, my input, it's not up there right now, but my input for my audio is $13. But if I unplug it, plug it back in, it's gonna, and try to add an input, it's gonna give it a different number. So I gotta go change that number to match up. So that's why you don't want to mess with that too much. You want it to be the same every time. So if your audio is not working, try the reset. And like I said, 9 times out of 10 that does it. Don't try to add an input because then you got to reset it. Learn that the hard way too. So left click reset is a big helper. Anything else that we run into a lot?
Camera and audio are the two biggest.
Okay.
What about your, somehow it's not picking up the camera sound? You know, you're broadcasting, but it's not getting camera sound.
Yeah, depending on where you are, you may want to change that a lot. Okay, so your camera will have an audio input also.
And by the way, I fully recommend, for production's sake, that you keep the camera sound on because it's annoying to watch a live stream and all you hear is people broadcasting. Like, it's so different watching a football game or a basketball game and you can hear some of the crowd noise. Now, I get you may be like, you may be standing next to like coaches that are hollering and yelling. You know,
But that's our problem, is we got grandma losing her mind.
correct. So if that's the case, you got to know how to turn that down, right? So I think that's a good thing to know. But in a perfect world, you want to be able to have outside noise. You don't want to just have the broadcast noise.
Another question, like, our press box is real small. So the person streaming, you can hear everything the other person. Is there a setting on our audio that, I mean, I was feeling like with that mic right here.
I think that's a key. There may be some mic settings that I don't know. Like when I handheld, you can change the range so that it picks it up where it only picks up if you're talking right here. I don't know if those have that or not. I've never tested
Do you guys have the new audio technica headsets? I was talking about headsets, like noise canceling, where they don't hear if they're broadcasting, or are you talking about the camera they're hearing people?
No.
Okay, if you're using these headsets, which most schools have these now, these are noise canceling. So you just gotta make sure, like one of the things that people do is they broadcast and they put this thing like out like that. They can't do that. It's gotta be like right there. If it's right here, they're only gonna pick up. You should not hear
That should help.
Oh my.
That should help your
Yeah.
school board guys.
Because that'll,
Custom.
if they open that mic up, it's gonna take directional sound from wherever they open that mic up.
Any other questions?
Come on, fire about us. I know you got some.
What if you get buzzing? We had problems the other night with we didn't know what it was that was buzzing.
So you were like getting like a scratchy noise or like reverb or like an echo?
No, it was just.
Okay, I'll tell you,
Kinda like static.
the two biggest things, when your guys may have their cell phone in their pocket that's going off, we get that a lot.
Yeah,
The cell
because we
phone.
were all texting him
Yeah,
going,
the
hey,
cell
y'all
phone.
are buzzing. But I mean, it was just.
How many times am I grabbing your cell phone and throwing it across the room?
Yeah.
Buzzing.
But it was continuous.
Short the whole time?
Yeah,
They
like
shortened the
something
wire.
wasn't plugged in.
And the other thing is this, we're only doing one connection, is that wire. A lot of times.
Might have to get a different wire. That's a great question. I'll tell you another thing. Some of you guys have the new red Focusrite box, because everybody has different audio mixers, right? And some of you guys have upgraded to like the equipment we use for Game of the Week. There are buttons on the front of that interface. If you hit one of those buttons, it's going to change how you're heard or how you hear people. I know Chelsea mentioned to me that they had an issue where it sounded like there was an echo. That's a button that's been hit on the front of it that should not be hit. So get a hold of us and we'll remote in and we'll show you. And those buttons are going to get accidentally hit all the time. It's not like it was anybody's fault. But there's a certain way that those buttons are supposed to be pushed in. So, yep.
These like we're not gonna pack in our school.
And that's something to remember too, is there's a ton of different audio mixers floating around.
Yeah.
They're not all the same, so.
Most audio mixers are more similar to like what Canton has here. If you ever do request like an equipment upgrade, most of the times what we're going to have you purchase is stuff that is similar to what we use for Game of the Week. Because what we try to do is we try to test stuff at the Game of the Week level and then know that it will work and know that it's easier to manage, and then we'll be like, okay, if you want to upgrade your camera or you want to upgrade your audio mixer, or you want to upgrade your headsets, then here's what you need to purchase. So the other thing also to think about is, one thing I noticed is you guys' current red AverBox, that is a discontinued video capture device. So you can still find them at times on Amazon if they ever go bad, but they'll be we actually have the new one. It's just a black capture card. It's really simple. It just has a different name, so you got to remember if you're going to like change the audio setting or the video setting, that you have to select the correct name from it, but it works the exact same way. So.
And on that point, if you're looking at multiple cameras, so for instance, we used to do a halftime interview with somebody from town, or, basketball season starts next month, so we're bringing the girls basketball coach. And if you want a camera, there's two different options here. I'm going to tell you the easiest way, if you're going to have a second camera for like talking to you, want your announcers on camera or something like that, get a webcam. Because a webcam you can plug directly into the laptop through the USB port and you're done. It'll pick it up and you can add that input. You can use your camera on your laptop. So if you wanted to say, have your announcers on the pregame on camera, I can go to add an input with camera, and from my drop-down list, the integrated webcam is already there. And there I am. So you can use your webcam and input it as an input as well.
So if you guys, like if you were doing broadcasting and you wanted to do like a halftime show or something and show the guys that are broadcasting, you'd be able to.
You could just use your webcam if you wanted to. Or you could go buy one of those cheap webcams and get a little tripod like you've got in the back row there, the short ones. And you could frame them in and you could do your interviews that way too. If you were to add another camera, you got to have another red box. Don't forget that.
Every camera you add, you have to add video capture. Now I will tell you this: if you're real serious about it, and you want to do a sideline cam, you want to do a couple of different cameras, there's actually a box called Blackmagic that we can actually order for you, and that you only need it can control multiple inputs into the back of it. And then it actually has a switcher on it, so there's buttons on it where you can switch the camera view, and you don't have to mess with switching it back and forth with demons.
You better have a broadcast class.
Yeah, you'll need a class for that. So yes, you had a question?
Yeah. If we were wanting to put mics on players, how would we do that?
Mics on players? Wow. Like during the game?
Yeah, it's like microphone during the game.
Wow.
Well, you're gonna have to have a very small portable.
Yeah.
Don't is the first thing I would say. Don't.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear what they say in the huddle.
That's a good question though. But say, well, maybe a player, probably not a great idea, but maybe you guys are doing like a livestock show, an ag event, or a community event, or something like that. Lapel mics. You can, the issue with a lot of that type of stuff that's wireless is you have to buy transmitters. And wireless transmitters are expensive. And you want to make sure that if you decide you want to do that, to let us know, and we'll tell you which ones to get. Because and this also goes back to advancements in technology. Huddle causes nightmares with sideline audio. Because if you've got huddle end zone or huddle sideline, there's all this stuff that's being shot out onto the field. So a lot of times it causes disruption with what you're trying to do out there on the field, because it's picking up, it's transmitting all these signals that are being thrown out there. But no, that's a good question. It'd be fun to do that. So you have to make sure whoever mic'd up, let them know that they might have to be appropriate.
Very, very good with a new microphone in it. Every time.
Yes.
Every game, because it'll get torn up.
I'll get torn up quick, like this. Coach, look at it, sir.
So
how difficult would it be to, with multiple cameras, like I'm thinking baseball, softball, having one behind the dugout and one down?
That is the number one place it would be the most beneficial, because you can't get one shot with baseball and softball very good. That's why it's basically a radio broadcast with a camera on it. If you had multiple cameras, yes.
So would you need a red box?
Two red boxes or either black magics for sure.
You know what Quincy did? Quincy got hooked up IP cameras,
Oh,
added the IP addresses in here, did multiple shots at Pioneer. Pioneer does that. And they're IP cameras, so he just inputted the IP address as the camera input, just like you would a huddle cam.
Eric Jessamine?
So, I believe VMix recognizes NDI. If you get like Mevos, you can, through NDI, connect Mevos to VMix. We don't use VMix for our softball broadcast. We use something called the Yellow Box, which has been great. But if you're pulling out all that, I believe VMix recognizes NDI and you can connect to that one.
And Amigo, that's that little green deal, right?
No, it's so we have there's different levels, because ours has 4 HDMI inputs, the Ultra. So it's a gray box, about this big.
Okay.
About that big. But the downside with using that is, so like whenever we do switch games, because I'll go, like if we're at a festival or something like that, I'll do the whole different game instead of just running right into it. And you gotta send an email and then click on the email, put in the address and game, the game ID and all that kind of fun stuff.
Gotcha.
But it does have a scoreboard option in it and things like that we utilize and all that.
Nice. Years ago, back in the early days of streaming, when I was working for the radio station, we broadcast the JUCO World Series down here at the ballpark. And the NJCAA asked us if we would stream, and we were just getting into it back then. We put together, and it looked really good. We basically put together a 3 or 4 camera shoot, but only one camera was moving, basically. And so we had one camera person. You put your moving camera up high behind, have a second camera right next to that camera, tight on the pitcher. Have a third camera if you have the cord to run or your wireless, down along you're the first base line, shooting back toward the plate because most batters are right-handed hitters. So what you've now got 3 pictures to shoot from. You've got one camera moving and following the action, but you can sit there and go tight on the pitcher, tight on the batter, and then when something happens, the camera follows along. And it looked really, really good.
And that's what Quincy did with his IPs. You had the moving one up top, and then he input his IP, static or whatever you call it. Non-moving. For that, it's that same idea, and it works really well. Any other questions?
Because sometimes what happens is when cameras are moving, they're actually just don't move your dang camera, just set it there and lock it down, and then you've got the one camera that follows the action. It looks better than it does when you have 3 people running cameras that are kind of moving things around and shaking it.
One thing you'll see schools do, and we did it with junior high and elementary, we started, basically I had a school board member that couldn't make it to all their kids' games, so they wanted them streamed. That's basically what it was. So I started streaming elementary and junior high games through Huddle. So if you want to hook up your Huddle camera as an input, you can do that, your Huddle focus camera. It's done through just an IP address. I can walk you through that. There's going to be some glitches. Chisholm wanted to do it, and they never could get their glitches fixed. I think it had to do with their internet more than anything. But there's going to be some glitches from time to time, but you can do that. You can input your Huddle camera there. But here's the next question. So if you're running a Huddle camera, you don't have somebody sitting there doing the scoreboard, and when let's say you're doing elementary games, you can't make a game ID for elementary because then it pops up on their website. You don't want that. So you can take that secondary webcam, and just like this one, and you can overlay it in there on your Huddle cam, and add it as a layer. So what we would do, and I may be getting too deep into the woods for you here, but I'll just give you some ideas and we can walk you through that. But I can add this camera and overlay it on top of my other one, and I can lock, didn't do that, sorry. And I can lock it on the scoreboard, and now I have a live scoreboard camera the whole time. So there have been some schools that have done this, and they just put it down here, and they lock it on their scoreboard, and now they got a live scoreboard camera going on at the same time. So if you don't have anybody to control anything, that's a great option.
Any questions? Anybody else have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
So at this time, we only have one camera for football, right? Can we put the camera on the roof of the press box and have our commentators and the equipment like in the press box, or is that not possible?
No, that's good. I would recommend that.
How do you connect them?
You get a really long cord right here.
Yeah, you should, your equipment should come with a decently long HDMI cable, probably 30 foot. If you have to, like we have one in our field, it's like 75 feet. So like
You can buy extenders for them too, that's what they have, where you plug a normal cord in, and it's 50 foot long, so it's like an extension cord.
And I can send you a link through Amazon. They're not overly expensive. So like when we did Chisholm's game for Game of the Week the other night, we were on top on a camera perch, the camera was, and then we ran a 50-foot HDMI cord down in through the back of the press box through the window. So you can definitely do that. We have wireless, but if we can stay away from wireless, we always do. It's just you have power issues, you have transmission issues. Like both of those schools have Hubble sideline, and that would have caused all sorts of issues with our camera because of all the signals and stuff going on.
So that's what I was wondering about, because that's where our huddle camera is, but it's also the best view.
Yep. Well, if you're connecting the direct cable to Hubble, the focus camera won't bother at all. Not one bit. So that's a really good question. Any other questions? One of the other things I will mention to you guys that some of you guys that are starting to get a little more comfortable and you're starting to figure things out, and there is an ability. We have a system we use. I wanted to mention to all of you guys that allows you to multi-point your live stream feed to multiple places. Because I know as we kind of grow, and Ashley's going to talk about curriculum here in a little bit in the media class, and you guys decide to start adding some things where your students are getting involved in more content, you're building out your own social media pages. There's a product out there called StreamYard, okay? It's just spelled exactly how it sounds. For instance, today we're using StreamYard, all right? It doesn't change anything that we're doing with vMix and how we would do anything else, but it allows you to point your stream feed to multiple places, okay? So you can connect your Facebook page to it, you can connect a YouTube page to it. So when we travel and we do our big Game of the Week events, we have a partnership with the sports animal of Oklahoma City. We're able to point our feed at their YouTube page, their app, and their Facebook page because they've given us access to it. So it's a really cool way to, in one place, push your live stream out, and it goes to multiple places across the board. So if you're ever interested in that, let me know, or let Ethan or Corey know, and we'll set you guys up. StreamYard, I think for a one user deal, I think it's maybe $19 a month. It's not overly expensive. And you could also do some other really cool things with StreamYard. If you wanted to do coaches shows and different things like that, you'd be able to do that as well. So
I mentioned pregame, and I know Covington does this, so I'm gonna talk about kind of how we do it. We all do it a little different. Anybody do a pregame show before? I know Cashin does, right? You don't know.
I think so. They did.
Yeah, they do.
They do. So the best, easiest way, if you're going to get into the pregame shows, I thought there was one on here. Oh, there it is to do it somewhere else and drop it in. And just drop it in as a video file. I know you can use Canva to create a pregame show. We still use iMovie and do stuff on our Macs because we can film on an iPad or a phone. just share the video and drop it in iMovie real quick and easy. But if you're gonna do a pregame show, the best and easiest way is to use another software, create the whole thing, get your graphics and everything you want, and then just drop it in. And so that's, so this is Canva, or we use iMovie. Well, we use iMovie, I guess. Right. And teachers, one thing that we're going to have to go to ourselves because media kids are great, but they're a little camera shy, and it's hard to get them to do more than one or two of them to do different things. Tiffany, and I don't have it pulled up, but Tiffany one time did this like a media press conference. So the kids are off camera asking questions to the coach, and he's answering questions. And that's another awesome way to get kids involved who are a little scared of being seen on camera. So there's a lot of neat ideas out there for the little pregame shows. And if you have a class, it's a great thing for them to do.
What other questions does anybody have? All right, let's take a bathroom break for a minute, and then I'm gonna order some pizza, and we'll have kind of start the next session of everything. So, everybody good?
Restroom is just across this hallway. If you have any questions with your laptop, we're going to help that.
Good people.
Right now, if I can find somebody and stuff like that, that would help Chris and me.
Yeah, you are pretty good.
Because I want to make sure we do streams. And then it's a good time for you all to work.
I can work 6 hours.
I can work in 7 hours. This morning, I can work in 7 hours.
7 hours.
7 hours.
Okay, 7 hours. What about you guys?
Yeah, I'll run in this corner. Only do the top.
I want to do the broadcast.
Only do it this corner. This corner.
So this is our broadcaster right here. One, well, he's the one that would do the teacher. Anybody have any crash?
I think we're okay. Y'all fellas want to be you guys? Or are y'all playing? Oh, they're not doing ice cream. Maybe girls.
Did you get me one?
He was listening, he ran the camera.
Actually, if you had more than one, it's more than one camera. That's what we used to do. We'll get those No. They're just all over Maybe that's here. She might. But I can go.
Hey, sleep. No, just like.
The pizza will be here closer to 12:30, so what we're gonna do, actually, when everybody gets back here, we're gonna take a picture up against that wall over there. So when everybody gets back here, that's what we're gonna do, and then everybody get back and get seated, and we're gonna have the one and only Tom Nelson talking about broadcasting.
It's like it's in your shirt somewhere. No, we gotta stop messing with me. It ain't going first.
Why move their boat? No, just fill one of them with others. What?
All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started with Tom. I think everybody is getting back to their seats.
Not everyone's back.
Not everybody's back yet?
We're missing 3 or more people.
Okay, we'll wait for them to get back.
I don't know how long they'll take.
All right, well, we are now to the portion of our itinerary where we're going to have Tom Nelson talk to you guys about broadcasting. Tom is, in my opinion, as good of a play-by-play broadcaster as there is in the state of Oklahoma. So I'm not being biased, I'm just being honest with you, Tom. We're blessed to get Tom. Tom used to work for the radio station here in Enid. Tom worked at a radio station where a lot of those guys have moved on and are at very large networks, not only across Oklahoma, across Texas, and a lot of other places. And I would put Tom right up there with any of those guys. And so Tom does a lot of games with us. He does a lot of our Game of the Week events. He's also one of the media members on our pickup show. And the other part about Tom that's amazing to me is he's not only a phenomenal broadcaster, but he also stats all of his games while he calls games. He's one of the only people I've ever seen that can stat a game and call a game. So he's not going to teach you how to do that today, because that's a special ability. But I'm going to hand it over to him, and he's just going to spend a little bit of time talking to you guys. For those of you that do broadcast, and I hope that all of you guys implement that in at some point. I hope that it's either members of your community or obviously students that get that experience. So here is Tom Nelson.
First of all, how many of you broadcast the games, the play-by-play, the color commentary? Have raised your hand and see who's doing that. Okay, all right. The most important thing that I would tell you is preparation is the key. And a lot of times, you'll pull up a game live stream, and I see quite a few across the country. You'll see them, and there's not a whole lot of preparation being done. They're talking about number 2 just scored, or especially on the visiting team you're playing. And I would tell you, do some prep work, and it really doesn't take that much. Get a roster. I usually will call, this is kind of what I've learned over the years. First thing you do is you call the secretary in the high school office, because the secretary in the high school office knows all. And you can say, hey, could you just, because she has the roster on her computer somewhere because they print the program every week. So you ask her to send you a roster, and she'll email you a roster usually. And so you've got both teams' rosters. If you want to get into it any more than that, and I don't know, I call the coaches and get information from the coaches. That is, when you get into the business, then you're getting paid, doing it for real, you would do that. You would pick up on that. You would prepare for your ball game by getting in touch with coaches, finding, getting a starting lineup. I'll always ask for a starting lineup or a 2 deep, 2 deep being first and second string of all the positions across the field. That way you know who's going to, you can kind of tell who's going to have the ball going in. Stats, I think stats are very important. I tend to broadcast a game the way that I used to watch, well, I guess the way I still watch a game is, I like to watch a game, and I like to, if a player's having a big game, he's got over 100 yards rushing or whatever it might be. That's why I like to keep my own stats. Now, what's interesting about this business, how many of you are doing it now that would like to go on and probably do it in college and are thinking about doing it in college and maybe even after that? Because one thing about it, the further up you go, the easier it gets. It's kind of doesn't make sense, but it is true, because when you're doing it at this level, high school, you might be doing elementary school, middle school games, whatever it might be, you have to go out and dig up all of your own information. You've got to get that roster. You've got to call and get those stats. You've got to get the starting lineups, whatever it might be. You get into college, and all of a sudden, you've got a sports information director who's handing you all that stuff, and all of a sudden, it's awesome. I mean, I've done mainly high school games over the years, but I've had some chances to do some college stuff, and it's so much easier to do college stuff. For me, it's like when you broadcast a football game, like a state championship football game or basketball game, they usually have quite a bit of information that you wouldn't get for a regular season game. But the higher up you get in this business, the easier it gets. Because one, you've got people keeping your stats for you. You might have a stat keeper. Tell you something else, a spotter. Spotters are awesome. And I will also say this, if there's somebody who doesn't want to announce, but wants to be a part of it, maybe you don't have a camera guy, or you have too many camera guys, or producers or whatever, a spotter is a great person to stand right there by the announcer with either a roster, or what you can do is make a big oversized roster with the name and the number is, and when a tackle happens, that person's job is to watch the defense and to pick out the tackle, or if somebody gets an interception and point to that number. And when you get a spotter that you trust, you kind of build a rapport with a play-by-play guy, as soon as he hits that tackle made by Joe Smith, so that might be something that what you guys are doing right now. You might have somebody you're trying to find a job for them to do. Spotting is a great job. One, it kind of gets them into the broadcast side of it, gets them watching the game, because really, when you're a play-by-play guy, you're focusing on the offense. I mean, that's what you're watching in football, especially in football. You're watching the offense. I mean, you're watching the quarterback hands off to the running back. He bounces it off the left tackle and gains 10 yards. Tackle made by, and hopefully your spotter's going, you go Joe Smith. You try to make it sound seamless. So I don't have a spotter. Press box is small. A lot of times when Adam's doing color, or your color guy, the color guy can actually kind of do that as well, because really when you're broadcasting a game, and I'm talking football, and to an extent basketball too, but the play-by-play guy describes the action. But say after a play or after a basket in basketball, you've got a few seconds, and what I'm doing, I'm writing down what happened on that last play on a stat sheet, or I keep a drive summary here too. So I'm writing that down. While I'm writing that down, that's the color guy's job to hit that hole and get in there and say something about the last play. They might say, oh, the great tackle by Joe Smith or whatever. Let that color guy be your spotter as well. Another spotter is if you hear the PA guy. I have Friday night up in Chisholm. I can hear the PA guy. Man, he was helping me out. He would say tackle made by whoever, and I just jump right in there and kind of fill until I heard him say that. So the key is, and this is one thing about streaming, radio is different than live streaming. Radio, you had to talk a lot. You had to describe everything. In live streaming, you don't have to, and I've been doing the live stream, mainly live streaming now since 2019. I still have to shut up, because you don't have to describe every play. You can see it. You don't have to, you can sit there and you can sit there and be talking about something else a little bit. I mean, they can see the game going on. The hardest part for me, though, is when I'm keeping stats. If I'm talking about something else and not really talking about the play, I've got to sit there and focus, okay, was that an 8-yard gain by somebody or whatever? You got to sit there. And so I'm sure a lot of times, and Adam and I have been doing games a long time, I'm sure Adam probably wonders, am I listening to him? He'll say something and I'm like not paying attention to him because I'm writing something down. And to be honest with you, a lot of times I'm not. But the thing is, he knows when he's supposed to come in there. I mean, he gives me my time to write, to write this down. Now, doing stats, like I'm used to it now, but it's funny because I have broadcasters tell me, I can't believe you keep your own stats. It's like, well, I've just kind of learned how to do that over the years, because when I first started broadcasting back in the 90s, a long time ago, I was in Kansas and I was a color guy, and I hated doing color because I'm not, especially football. I didn't play football. I watched a lot of football. I played basketball, I played baseball, but I watched a lot of football. Football is my least favorite sport to do. It's because I did not play the game. So, play-by-play is one thing. You describe what's going on, but I hated doing color for football. And so what I would do, I would keep the stats. And my play-by-play guy, who's funny, I was in Garden City, Kansas. He now lives in Enid. I actually got him down here years ago, and he lives in Enid and doesn't broadcast anymore. But I would do the stats, so I would know that, oh, that's that guy's 10th carry, just went over 100 yards rushing or something like that. But the play-by-play guy would do this, and this is the drive summary. And this is really the drive summary is really important as a play-by-play guy because you write down on mine, I write what yard line the drive started on, what time the drive started on, and then every play I write the yard line, like, okay, this drive started, this is a drive for OCS, I did the OCS Chisholm game the other night, this is the first drive of the ball game, first drive of the second half, started at the Chisholm 45-yard line with 11:53 to play in the third quarter. Their first play, they scored 5 yards, they went for 9 yards, they went for 5 yards and a penalty, then a 6-yard gain, then an 8-yard gain, da-da-da-da. At the end of the drive, they scored a touchdown. I write down on here, touchdown, 1-yard run by Matthews, 2-point conversion run by Atticus Sage, good player. And it's a 9-play, 45-yard drive. And I put up here I put the quarter, third quarter, time of the touchdown, 7:21. Made the score 15-8. 9-play, 45-yard drive. It took 4 minutes and 32 seconds. And it was a 1-yard touchdown run by, I can't remember what his first name was, Matthews, but and then a 2-point conversion run. And so you've got on here, I do it in different colors. I love these pins that you can do multiple colors on because I will do red and blue for every game. In this game, Chisholm was red and OCS was blue. And I can just sit there and at halftime, I can update my stats and spend 5 minutes talking about stats and talking about game recap and the touchdowns for the first half. You want to give yourself something to talk about during that time when there's no action going on. So, preparing for prep work, that's so important. I mean, if you're going to do this for a career, if you want to do it for a career, and now I will tell you this, I would have killed to have your opportunity back in 1985, back when video cameras first came out, and I was in a little town out in western Kansas, and I knew what I wanted to do. A friend of mine had a camera, and we set it up, and we clipped a lavalier mic onto my shirt, and I broadcast the games. The first game I ever broadcast was one of our girls' varsity games, and the other team, we were on the road, and the other team hit a winning shot to win the game, and I'm like, I was like, what is that gonna do? I was supposed to be cheering. I was supposed to be not cheering. You never should cheer. That's another thing too, as well. Try to keep it professional. That's a key thing. Try to keep it professional, especially with the game of the week stuff. Like for example, trying to think. Was Pioneer SKORDLE School? Okay, and then so Timberlake and Pioneer are both SKORDLE schools. But I did that game a couple weeks ago. We're in the area. Both these teams are in our area, and I don't want either one of them to think that I'm cheering for the other one.
Unless you bring us snacks.
Yeah, that helps. That helps. But try to keep it professional because I'll tell you, you can get as much experience doing it at this level at high school. You go to college, you're ready to go. I went to when I graduated from high school, I went to Fort Hays State up in Kansas, and we broadcast every game on TV, had them on the radio, and my freshman year, I was doing all the TV stuff, and it just, I kind of had to start from scratch and pick it up as I went, and then, got into sports. Actually, I was in more the TV side. My first job coming out of college, I was in TV and CBS TV affiliate in Topeka, Kansas, and then I got into the radio side of it, and mainly radio after that. But let me see here.
One thing I want to reiterate what Tom just said is, this isn't, when are doing a broadcast, guys, it is not just for your school.
Yes.
Don't forget that. And it doesn't matter if Canton and Covington are playing, we both have SKORDLE. Your Covington's broadcast is still coming our way. And it's also going to the SKORDLE app. So people not affiliated with either school may be listening or watching. Always keep that in mind. It's okay to kind of be a little bit of a cheerleader at times. If you're just doing your school. But if that broadcast is going everywhere, you have to keep that in mind.
You know, we had a time, one time when we had a school board member who complained because our kids complimented the other person. They're like, that was a nice layup by blah, blah, and he was like, what? We're like, this is a lot, I mean,
Yeah.
so you can get it both ways, people.
Yeah, I would almost guess that there might be more people watching on Squirtle when you're doing like when Timberlake Tigers TV is doing a game. There might be more people from the visiting school watching than the home school.
Tom's right. He 100% is right.
So
People from the opposing team or people that are just general fans are more likely to watch. Because the home people are at the, especially if it's a home game.
yeah,
They're going to be at the games.
yeah. So keep that in mind. And you know, I tell you, doing a little prep work on the visiting team, getting a roster, and knowing the names of the players, that's, you know, that doesn't take much, and it makes you sound a lot more professional. Another thing that I do, and this is a bit different, a lot of broadcasters, they will, when they prep for a game, they'll do a big old, kind of a huge poster size, well, not really bigger than this, probably about this size, like a board. They'll do a board, and on that board they'll have their starters in big squares, like the name, the number of the name, the height and weight, and then you have any kind of notes for that player. I've tried that, and I've just not had any luck with it. I just have, and I think it's because I'm keeping my own stats. So I put all my notes on this, or I guess I could, the one from the game the other night. I mean, just put your information on there. And then I've got these little stand-up things, and I'll get a roster, and I'll take the roster for each team. Sometimes I was lucky with both these teams, you could actually use their rosters. A lot of times the way they have them laid out, you have to type them out yourself just to get it, because one of my favorite all-time stories of broadcasting is Lane Jones was doing our game of the week at the radio station years and years ago. And on a Friday afternoon, he was going down to Cash, and his grandfather passed away. And like at 4 o'clock, that was before I was doing ball games. I was just doing the scoreboard show at that point, but I saw I was available. And they said, Tom, if you get him to Cash and do a game. It's like, okay. So I just jump in the car, no prep work, no nothing, go down to Cash and get a program. And it's like 20 minutes before the game starts. I open up the program, and the roster is in class order, meaning seniors first, juniors, sophomores, freshmen. That is the nightmare for a broadcaster. I had to sit there in the 10 minutes before the game and take out a notepad and write down every player's name and number. And I don't think Cash does it anymore. They used to, but I don't think they do. But that was, there's still some schools that do it. I had to read Pioneer's roster, I think, a couple of weeks ago, because they had it like that. But being able to use the roster, and then I will highlight the starters, get the starting lineups, and I'll highlight them so I know my eye will be attracted if I see a tackle or something like that, or see a player. You know, usually within the first 10 or 15 minutes of the game, you pick up the main, first drive, you pick up the main player who's going to be really good. Unless you have uniforms like OCS had, they had 8 look like a 6, and I kept calling the guy the wrong name all night. But that's bad. That's 58-year-old eyes. So, but you know, getting a roster, putting this on a board in front of you, just to have those names that you're, you know, right below you. I also have my binoculars. You know, take your binoculars. That way you can sit there, and if something happens on the far side of the field, you're trying to see a name, see a number over there, and you know, see who it is. I don't use the binoculars as much as I should, because have things come at you real fast, but they're nice to have if you do need them. And then something which I think you guys would probably relate to, and I forgot it on Friday night, and I wish I hadn't. I forgot my lamp. This dates back to, I did a broadcast down in Davis years ago, and we get to the press box, and they had us to the visiting side. Now, down in Davis, they have this beautiful press box on the home side, and it was really nice, looked very warm. This is November high school football playoff weather. but they put us on the visiting side in the old ramshackle press box. So I go to plug in, we had power, but there was no lights, there was no no light bulbs. So it's dark, and this is November, it's dark. So I had my color guy, Bush Lingenfelter, run to Dollar General, he paid $5 for a lamp. And he brings it back, and it's got this lamp, and he's got this really nice lampshade. And he goes, oh, the lampshade was extra. I go, why'd you buy the lampshade? I don't need the lampshade. So we just took some duct tape. Another thing you have to have is duct tape. Took the duct taped that lamp to the roof of the press box, and boom, we got through it. So now, what I found out is that most press boxes, the lighting reflects, and reflects on the window. It's hard to see. So we turn off the light in the little room and use my little lamp that's right there beside me. And we had the issue the internet at Chisholm. We couldn't see because there was the light in the press, like these lights, reflecting on the window. And so we had to turn the lights off. I used my phone to light up my rosters and my stuff like that. But go to Dollar General and get a $5 lamp, and it'll save you sometimes. Adam always goes, Tom, you got your lamp? Yeah, that's my lamp. I got it. Trying to think anything else. I just had the most important thing I preach is preparation. I mean, that's just don't just sit down, put on the headphones, and start talking. Do a little bit of prep work. One, because you are talking to the other schools, fans. Two, anybody. I mean, think about it. How many people could be watching this game on SKORDLE? I mean, anywhere in the world. I'll never forget. This is back before SKORDLE. We were streaming our game. We were audio streaming our games on the radio at the radio station, and we were doing the Skelter tournament. And Drummond girls were playing, and I got a message from one of the girls on Drummond's team. Her mom was in Kuwait in the military, serving, and she let us know that she was listening. And that was pretty darn cool. That was cool to know that they were listening from, and everybody in her barracks was listening to this little piece of Americana from, the Skelter Conference tournament. Years later, that was probably, I'm going to say 2012, 2013. I'm going to say 4 or 5 years ago. So like 8 years after this happened, this 26, 27, 28-year-old woman comes up to me and she goes, my mom got to hear my games in Kuwait, and I remember it, boom. I remember her name at the time. It was like, boom, And that's the thing about it. You don't take it seriously. Take it seriously, and because you never know who's listening out there, and also have fun with it, and that's a key as well. I guess I'll have any questions.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions for Tom? And like Tom was talking about, just remember when you guys are live streaming one of your events, so there's over 250,000 people that have the SKORDLE app across the state of Oklahoma. And then obviously anybody has access to the internet. So however many millions of people that have that can access your web browser. So when you're announcing a game, I actually implore you guys being biased in a little way. My deal is if you're going to go to CrescentTigers.tv, the expectation should be that they're going to be fans of Crescent, right? And that's fine. Just don't belittle your opponents and say things that are inappropriate outside of that. So Tom was mentioning, just so you guys know, so you're aware, SKORDLE's broadcasts have been in 46 states and 23 countries is where our broadcasts have been seen. So we're almost to every state in the union, and I'm sure probably after this year that'll be the case. And typically those countries, like what Tom's mentioning, are military. So people that are serving overseas or, Canada, Mexico, the countries that are close to us. Tom hit it on the dot, like being prepared, just having a roster is a first great step. And then I would say the next thing would be too, if you're ever timid on the mic, remember saying less sometimes is more early on until you get comfortable. It's one thing that I've learned being around Tom and some of the guys that I get a broadcast with. My job's super easy, being a color guy, when you have broadcasters like Tom and Todd Miller and Mark Rogers, the people that call games with us. And I'll be honest with you, we have really good broadcasters in our network. If you watch a lot of our schools do a phenomenal job. But if you're just getting started in it and you're wondering the best way when you're calling a game, like what Tom mentioned, just remember, people can see the game. So as long as your camera's working and there's a video on, they can see what's going on. So saying less a lot of times is more. And then as you get more comfortable with the broadcast, you'll start, talking more just naturally.
Another thing I tell you is there's different. You're probably going to broadcast mainly football, basketball, baseball. I'm sure there's softball, baseball, softball, and for the main part. And it's funny because people ask me a lot, what's your favorite sport to broadcast? And for a long time, it was basketball. I mean, I enjoyed calling basketball games. Football's always been, I basically call football, basketball, and baseball. Done a little bit of softball, have never done volleyball, have never done soccer. We didn't have those sports in our school, and wrestling, I've never done wrestling. I'm not that familiar with them. I would not feel good broadcasting those games. But it's funny because each broadcast has a different, kind of a different feel to it. Football, I'd like to explain it like this. Football, you're watching the game like this. You're up, you're looking out the window, or you're watching what's going on there. Basketball is kind of the same way. Basketball, you're following the action. You're going back and forth like this. Baseball, softball, and I'll tell you, it's more baseball than softball because softball moves quicker than baseball. Baseball, I'm sitting back like this. I mean, I broadcast the JUCO World Series every year on NJCAA TV, and that is the sport that you can really get into the conversations with because baseball just moves so slow, and you can tell by listening to a broadcast that baseball is a 7-inning or a 9-inning long conversation, where football and basketball are more, you've got to follow the actions happening quick. But so it's like the two sports, the football and the basketball, you're kind of up here like this, and you're always kind of stressed out. You're kind of down there. Baseball, you're back here like this. I got all my stats in front of me. Oh, strike. Just ball two kind of a thing. So, but I think now, baseball may be my favorite sport to broadcast now, just because it is, and it's me getting older and just being a lot more laid back than I used to be, I think, too. So, but right now, I'm just glad to have the opportunity to broadcast some ball games, and that's going to be ending here in the next week or two. I'll have to go into the hospital for some things and hopefully emerge during basketball season sometime. But I appreciate your time, and I'll just once again, prepare. That's really the most important thing.
All right, thanks, Tom.
Hey, Adam, you mentioned spotters on the equipment that you all recommended use. Are there spotter channels, or is there a way you could put a spotter in your headset that's not going out over the other? Is it a spotter channel where your announcer just hear them, but it's not out of radio, or is this equipment not confident that can be nice?
That sounds actually I'm sure there is a way. That would be a technical question that I would have to ask somebody that can answer that for me.
We kind of did it last week in a little bit. My son is now doing camera work for us, and he was on the roof at the press box. That was it. Timberlake? Timberlake couple weeks ago? Yeah. He was on the roof. And he told me ahead of time, because I like being in the booth with you guys so I can hear what you guys are saying, so I know what you're shooting. Oh, yeah. So he goes, and he's up on the roof this time. So we had some wireless stuff, some wireless equipment, and Tyler was our producer that night. So Tyler and him, they were able to talk back and forth. He was up on the roof, and that helped him out a lot. What I think we're going to do now is, the last game we did, what was the game? I had my phone laying. I mean, O'Keen. He had his phone upstairs, up on the roof, and I had my phone, and he could hear me. We just had our speakerphones on, and he could hear what I was saying through the speakerphone, and that way he could follow along what was going on. I think we're going to try next time is get our AirPods out, stick our AirPods in, on the AirPods in over, so him and I can talk back and forth during breaks and stuff like that. So there are ways you can jury rig. So.
Yeah, and I think too, I mean, obviously it's, you know, the sight lines are difficult in places. I mean, last week we were Chisholm, you can't see out the side of the press box. I personally, when I do color, if you have two people, I try to help Tom with tackles because I know he's, you know, so that's one thing that I try to do is try to mention who the tackle, you know, who made the tackle or who it was, or, you know, I think Tom probably has figured that out. That's something I try to do. But as far as figuring out something technical, I'm sure we can coordinate and figure something out there. So it's a good question.
It would be cool. That's how they do it. Big time. You get somebody, and I've done that before, and it takes a while you're calling a game and somebody's talking in your ear, and you've got to sit there and separate the two things and stuff like that. But yeah, it is pretty cool when you get on ESPN or something like that. You will have that. You'll have somebody talking in your ear.
Oh, the other, yes, ma'am.
So what do y'all keep saying a color guy? I don't know what that is.
Oh, okay, there's three people to like an ESPN broadcast or a major broadcast. There's three people. There's a play-by-play guy, which is their job is to call the action. They're the fourth down and 10, it's punt time, snap back to the punter, he kicks it away, and it's down at the 10-yard line, whatever it might be. The play-by-play guy describes the game. The color guy is the color commentator. And that's who, like you're watching Tony Romo when you're watching the game on CBS, or a former player, a line coach. Their job's of course, this is me being a play-by-play guy. I think their job's tougher sometimes because I've got something to talk about. Play-by-play guys, I can describe the game. Color guys got to come up with something. They got to come up with something to say, and so your color guy is that person who they got to pick their spots. Like I said, you need a color guy who can pick their spot, say something in 5 to 10 seconds, and get the heck out and not be talking over the next play. So that's a good color guy. A good color guy can do that. Can get in there and Adam knows when I'm going to wrap up. When I've described the play, and that's a gain of 10. It's third down, and that's a gain of 10. It's first and 10. He knows to come in for 10 or 15 seconds. He's looking over at me. I'm writing something down. And then about that time, they're coming up, lining up for the next play. And then I pick that up again. Then you get your sideline reporters, too, which we don't have much at this level. I used to love doing sidelines. We did some with SKORDLE early on. I used to love doing sidelines because I had so much fun down there. And we would do the All-Star game, the 8-man All-Star game over in Miami. Games where you could get away with this. And doing the 8-man All-Star was great because I'd be on the sidelines interviewing players and coaches while the game's going on. And they'd have fun with it. And if the game was close, I'd jam my microphone right into the middle of the huddle where people could hear, people hear what they're talking about, the plays and stuff like that. But that sideline reporter, the sideline reporter, really their job, their most important job is not necessarily what they do on the air. It's what they can find out down there on the sideline. If a player does get hurt and you're up in the press box, you can't run down there and find out what's wrong with that guy, that player. That sideline reporter can kind of go down there and find out what's going on, and then can get on the air and explain it. So their job is, a sideline reporter's most important job is to kind of keep the people up in the booth aware of stuff on the floor. We might not see a player get hurt, especially in football, especially in the visiting team sitting across the way. We might not see a player over there on the sideline out of the ball game or something like that. But yeah, what you guys are doing, there's usually a play-by-play guy and a color guy. And play-by-play, that's what I always like doing. Color guy, like Coach Beak did it for the theater night down at Salisaw, and Adam's coached enough and played enough that he's good at it. Just got to have that person that can talk a good game.
So I think for students, correlating that, if you have somebody that's assigned to call the action, that would be the play-by-play guy, and then your color person would be probably somebody that notices something unique about what happened during the play. or that maybe they've watched the game enough, they're like kind of figuring out like what the other team's trying to do. So they may say to the play-by-play guy, hey, you know, this looks like the same formation they ran a while ago where they, you know, threw it to number 85. You know, obviously you wouldn't say his number, you'd say his name. So something like that. So that's kind of like what the color person's job is kind of fill the gaps between plays. Or like Mr. Hickman said, they could also be, they could have responsibility to be a spotter. They could be the one that's saying like who made the tackle or who made the catch on a play. Sometimes the play-by-play it's hard to see like who the pass was thrown to, who received it. So those types of things. All right, the other thing too is if you get really good at what you're doing as a student, when you graduate, you get paid by SKORDLE. So all of us that our network crews that travel the state of Oklahoma, most of those kids that are in our network are students that are from our networks. And some of them are even athletes that never even had the opportunity, but they want to have a job while they're in college. And I can tell you, I'm biased towards the SKORDLE schools. And so a lot of times that's who we hire when they go to college. So we run a camera, produce, and we pay our people pretty well. It's a good job. So that's the other thing you consider as a student. If it's something you really like and you get through high school and you go to college, in-state, OU, OSU, UCO, wherever, Northwestern, Southwestern, wherever it may be, you can always reach out to me and I can try to help you get a job. So, all right, let's give Tom a big round of applause. Our pizza should be every time. All right, up next we're going to have Brandy. Are you leaving? Okay. Brandy's going to come on for a minute. So Brandy Sheever is going to come on and talk about, so all the gear that we wear and everything like that she owns a promo company here in Eden. They're also a big sponsor of a lot of the things that we do. So she's one of our Game of the Week sponsors. They do our shooting shirts every year. And so she's going to spend a little bit of time talking about what her company does just shortly. And then we're going to, while she's doing that, if you guys want to just start making your way down to get pizza, there's plates and napkins down there. We'll let the students go first. Just kind of backwards. SKORDLE School, so we'll let the kids go first. If you happen to make a mess while you're doing this, you'll be responsible for vacuuming the entire facility. So. Oh, you could. And then just as a reminder, after Brandy is done speaking here, we're going to have Ashley Lively is going to come talk on about a new feature that we have in SKORDLE, which for the teachers and students I think is really interesting. She has developed a curriculum, which is really, really cool. So.
I think we're gonna stop the phones on the street. Oh, Bronx probably isn't for you either. Yeah. Yeah, the kids are like, if it's only pizza, can we stop and get ice cream on the way? I'm just like, sure. It's not like we're gonna be in a hurry, it's gonna be one, which I think it's gonna be since it's already.
Makes sense.
Yeah, let's do I'm just like, these are the people that are PCA. It's fine.
wife's.
Oh. You'll have to tell me about that. I don't know anything about this.
I'm bending it. Okay.
He like plays basketball.
Ben, what happened?
That might be fancy.
How?
Let me see. Yeah, but you're
There's no way that's playing basketball. Dude, you can get hurt in basketball. Yeah, it's not. How do you do that?
See the cord I'm tugging?
Yeah, but then. No, I'm not saying that. I'm helping you do that.
So I say we get an elbow.
Ben, you're thinking.
There's no way you can get a 4-inch from an elbow.
Hey. Yeah, she was actually in my class.
Ben,
They had to take a
Ben, you are really faking it. Right? Just a bit.
So I said, you know what, like,
What? Are we for real? Ben, get better.
so what's your name? Lou? And you're inviting her to. This coming Saturday? Well, that's short notice, dude. You should have asked me 3 weeks ago. Yeah, I'll have to tell her that she's.
No, get it. Loser. Yeah. I can't imagine you to 11. Except for this morning.
Jackson. In Clash Royale?
Clean up the one thing on it.
Did you accept?
We do space before we.
Ben. Accept my Clash Royale. Oh yeah, my dad said it was. How did you do that? Sit down.
She said it. I asked her if you can for
You should see them. I knew it. Evan. Whenever they were driver's ed together, they got all of them. And you told her about hospital, and then she told them.
I'm coming with you.
Of course you are.
She's in a group chat with me. There's one with all four of us. I left it.
All right, we're gonna have Brady Sheever with Downtown Threads just talk for about 5 minutes while you guys are slamming your pizza. So I'm gonna hand it over to Brady. Like I said, Brady does all of our school gear, all the stuff that we have that we wear around, and she also does shooting shirts for us. But then she also does stuff for school, so I'm gonna have her talk for a little bit, and then have Ashley Lively on. And then I wanted all you guys to know, if you need to stick around for any Q&A or any questions, we're gonna still be here. So don't think that we're leaving right away.
Like you said, I'm Brady Sheever. I own Downtown Threads. We're a custom screen printing and embroidery promotional products company. We're located here in Enid. We do all the SKORDLE things. We also, our bread and butter is school stores. So a school who wants to raise money for like their booster club or their, the cross country team or their softball team, we can put together stores for you. You can either pick the designs or we can come up with the designs. You decide if you want a t-shirt, long sleeve, short sleeve, hoodie, whatever you want to use, polos, etc. And we put together a store like up here. Sorry, I'm SKORDLE School, but it's all right. It's the easiest one to use. Yeah, we'll come back. So this is Kremlin store, and we have done several designs here, and you can see that we do t-shirts, hoodies, and something really cool is we can customize the website. So in the background, you can see Kremlin School. We can do your logos. We can do whatever you want us to do. The cool thing about this is there's a fundraising feature. So you can put fundraising on the backside of the website so no one can really see. Like for instance, on this Kremlin website, generally speaking, we raise it about $5 to $7 depending on what they order. So at the end, we can run a report that will tell us exactly how much money we raised for their school. So Kremlin, Hillsdale, and the Raw Booster Club store, we did it for about a week and a half. We had the store open and it raised $744 for their school. So we do that for schools all across the state and even in Kansas. So that's kind of the main thing of what we do. We also do businesses. We do design, logo design. We're really big in the ag world. We do lots of hats, that kind of thing. So
Well done. Brady, they do a really good job. I like them because they're local. And then the biggest thing, and the reason why I was at Brady come to this is, she is so, Brian, if your boy would stand up, like those shirts, like all the summer shirts that we do, she does all of those. So, and she also does those at no cost. So it's pretty cool that she does that. So she offers the opportunity to do that. And obviously it's great advertising for her. She always reminds me when she goes to sporting events across the state on people that have shirts. But she's doing a lot of those types of things too as well. So she's going to show the SKORDLE shirts. We do those too, the discounted shooting shirts. You see these a lot around different places. So there's a discount on all of those. The discount is that you have to put SKORDLE on the back of it. But they're really cool. They're long sleeve. People use them for travel gear. They also use them for shooting tops. There's 3 different colors, and then there's one with the hood too.
I was gonna say, I believe there's 6 different designs, and we'll also obviously customize this for you with your logo and your school name and your colors. There are orange, they're not orange. They are, we can do black, gray, and white, and then the hooded ones only come in, I believe, white and black. Maybe they come in all 3. Yes. Yes, that's something else we do. If Grandma lives in Texas but wants to support the school, we can automatically, there's a shipping feature that we can turn on, and we can automatically ship that to them when the product is finished. I guess the hooded does come in the gray, black, and white. But anyway, that just gives you an example of the things we do. So a lot of the coaches, we do a bunch of these stores for SKORDLE. So we're very thankful for Adam and all the business he pushes to us.
All right, everybody give Brady a round of applause. All right, so Ashley has been a huge piece of kind of getting the foundation set for a lot of what we're doing, like this SKORDLE School event. This was actually her idea, her and Sean's, a few years ago. And Ashley's a big member at OKSTE, which we figured out in SKORDLE is probably one of the best organizations for us to be associated with. And Ashley has been in education for, I'm not going to age her, but quite a while. And then she also is super talented and has developed a curriculum. This curriculum can be used obviously for SKORDLE schools, but also for non-SKORDLE schools. So she's going to spend a little bit of time talking about that today.
Hey, so real quick, I did want to say that OKSTE has helped kind of fund lunch and things like that today, but there's some information for educators down here about our upcoming conference in November. And then also, if your school is not a partner school of OKSTE, you might want to look into becoming a partner with OKSTE. It's a great networking opportunity for all things technology, STEM related, whether you're a tech director, a librarian, a media specialist, or a broadcasting teacher. It's a really great network to have some other techie people to rely on or to learn some new things. So just my little plug for that. Anyway, so as my husband and I, when we first started with SKORDLE, we were kind of thrown into this. There were those, first beginning schools, and we had to figure it out. So as we moved through it, he's really techie, he figured it out. Those other schools were, plugging along, figuring it out. But what we realized really quickly was that we needed some other additional support with SKORDLE, right? So we needed some things like Canva, we needed some things like iMovie, we needed some things to add in those extra flares, those extra things to go along and make it make sense. Fast forward, we moved to Canton, and we had some other teachers that we wanted to move into some of this this class, this media stuff, because our plates were full with other opportunities that we were going to have in Canton. And we just said, hey, here's your class, let's go. If you're an educator and you're here today, you know what that feels like, to get thrown into something that you have zero clues about. So I said, you know what, we need help. Just like we have with ELA, just like we have with math. I was a previous curriculum director, so I know what curriculum looks like, and I know how to align that to standards, right? And make sure that they're ISTE aligned, and make sure that they're Oklahoma State standard aligned. So I started to work on this last year when we threw somebody into this same position and said, hey, good luck. Let us know how it works out. I'm here to support you in any way I can. Well, that's like telling somebody, hey, if you need anything, let me know, and then they never let you know. I needed help, she needed help, we all needed help with this media class that we were being thrown with. So I started developing a day-by-day, week-by-week, basic project-based lesson and curriculum for a media broadcasting class. The great thing about this is I created it all within Google Docs, and so it's fluid. It's getting updated, it has new links. Even since I started this very first thing last year, I've already modified week 1 to have rubrics in it. It's got the handouts in it. It's got the peer mediation built into it. It's got all the different links. It's got resource links. It's got research resource links. Because I noticed, oh wait, I think week 1 we need to have a resource list. Because we all know we've been in those classes that we have a SKORDLE class, we have a media class. Okay, you're in charge of the graphic for football this week. You're in charge of the graphic for elementary and junior high football this week. You're in charge of the SCLA graphic. They've got something coming up. Cross country's got something coming up. So you're delegating all of these jobs, right? Well, what do they do in the meantime? When they're done with all those things, they're making you pull your hair out because they don't have a job assigned to them, right? So this is a really cool project that it starts them learning at different camera angles, how to shoot at different camera angles, how to combine those camera angles. It'll walk them through how to interview, how to do an interview, how to write the questions, what you should ask in writing those questions. It also even does, at the very bottom, I put in a VMix cheat sheet. And so when you're ready to start this right at the very beginning and you need kids to know how to use VMix and you need them to know how to do it fast, this is your cheat code. All you have to do is go into this one and it's going to show you about 2 weeks worth of lessons and quick button retrievals, how to put in the scoreboard, which has already been updated with our new scoreboard that is within SKORDLE, or in VMix. No, that's in VMix that SKORDLE put in, right? See, I get really confused with all of the terminology. Anyway, so you have a curriculum to go with it. So our idea with this curriculum is that we want it to be available to you guys and then we want it to be fluid and flexible. So as the year goes on, I'm already changing things and updating things and inputting Canva stuff. Like, here's how to create a commercial. Here's how to make the commercial and put it in to your VMix so that it'll play in the middle of your broadcast. Or if you want halftime to be dedicated to a special company, you can create this and put it in. How to create a stinger, how to do, we just did it very first week. Create your logo for brand your TV station. I know that a lot of people have branded their TV stations. Well, Canton hadn't really done that. And so we took it upon ourselves to create all the stickers and things like that to brand our TV station. So there's a bunch of different modifications that we've done within this, but it is a semester long. It's written for junior high and high school. And it's something really that we just wanted to, we have a good working relationship with Adam. And so we wanted to pair with him and make SKORDLE an even more powerful piece of support for educators as it's going into classrooms. We want it to be standard-based. We want to prove that our kids are really learning something and they're not just having fun playing with video cameras and devices. If you have any questions for me over this, it's one of those things we really haven't shared with a whole lot of schools yet. I think one other school has started using it, and I'm just getting their feedback, going, hey, what worked, what didn't, what needs to change? Do we need to change our timeline on this, or do we need to do things differently? I will say that the kids at our school that have already gone through it, they're going flying through that curriculum, and it's a lot easier than I thought it would be for them. So that's encouraging, and we're able to get out a really great product that we're excited about. So, do you guys have any questions for me on the curriculum side of things? Okay, very good.
Do we contact you or do we contact Adam?
Either one of us is just fine. Either one. Adam can get you in contact with me for sure. And then, like I said, it's one of those things that's just getting off of the ground and running. So I don't even think we have a link on the website or anything, but.
They're waiting on me. That's what she's trying to tell you. So we're trying to figure out a way to make it feasible. So everything that we set up in SKORDLE is set up for a school to purchase through PO through a credit card. And so if you're a SKORDLE school, you obviously get it substantially discounted too as well. So any school that's not a SKORDLE school pay double the cost, I believe. And then it's an annual subscription because like Ashley's saying, every year things change or things will be added to the curriculum. So I'm hoping that that will be completed in the next week or two. But if you're interested in it, let me know. I've already got a list of people that already want it and have it. I trust all of our schools. If you want it now, we'll figure out the payment arrangement at some point in time.
Do you know ballpark what you're going to start the offer at?
So it's, isn't it $299 for a SKORDLE school and $499 for a non-school year? And then what we're probably going to do, this is what's taking us so long, is any school that wants to actually add it into the renewal, then we're just going to set it up where it's just added into your renewal every year, because there's a, $1,979 renewal fee every year. And so, for it to be easier done through our Shopify page for PO purposes and how all the paperwork is done, that's what's really holding everything up right now, is because you can't just set up a pay link, have a school pay for something, you guys know how it works. So there has to be the right, word verbiage and the right opportunity for you to pay by a PO. Now I know some schools are starting to get better with like credit cards, and so it can be paid by a credit card. It's much easier, but not everybody can do that. So, Ashley has done a really great job with this. I think it's really a game changer for SKORDLE and our SKORDLE schools, especially for those that are starting to implement it into a classroom. Now, instead of just being like, well, how do I add this to a classroom, right? Now we've got the baseline for that. And like Ashley said too, once it's implemented, the great part about it is you have a whole semester to see how it works, right? Because then you can put your students out there in action, and so it's got that element to it as well. And everyone knows how much technology changes, how much VMix changes. I mean, heck, we just created a new scoreboard at the time that she did this whole document. So this thing will always be updated and there'll be things added to it additionally.
And the vision for that is also, there'll be like mini courses on Canva and mini courses on, if you're wanting to do a TikTok page, or if you're wanting to run an Instagram, if you're wanting to run Facebook Live, or if you're wanting to do some of those things, there's going to be those mini courses that are within the media broadcasting course itself that are still going to keep our kids safe, going to be aligned to HIPAA, all of those things that were really important for our school districts to keep our kids safe online. All of that has been kept in mind when it comes to this curriculum. So anyway, just to kind of give you why there's extra stuff that goes in there.
And then I would say for administrators or teachers, and even students should be able to hear this, SKORDLE is not my real job. I own a marketing agency, and curriculum like this, and you students that are out there and you're learning how to create content, you're learning how to produce videos, you're learning how to manage a social media page. I literally hire people like that for a living. So Ashley Hill is sitting in the front desk. Ashley is actually who helps coordinate a lot of, she's my project manager at my real job, my marketing agency. And so she's also the person that helps with SKORDLE. SKORDLE is actually a client of my marketing agency. So when you're thinking about what are you teaching students, what are they learning, or you're a student, you're figuring out, maybe, hey, in the future, I want to be a content creator, which we all know, everybody wants that. You just make a TikTok and make a bunch of money, right? That's how it works. It's not true. You have to learn certain skills. And so our idea is how do we get that type of content back in the classroom, and how do we formalize it and make it actually legitimate. So. All right. Well, you guys survived SKORDLE School, year 3. You had pizza and Halloween candies. So does anybody have any parting questions, and we're going to still be around here. It takes us a while to close everything down. So if there's any of the teachers that want to sit down and show us anything or any problems or any questions they have, we're still going to be around here. So this whole presentation was recorded, so it'll be saved on SKORDLE. So if there's something any of the teachers want to go back and watch, or if there's parts that they want to share with anybody, you'll have the ability to do that too as well.
Did you still want to do a photo before we leave?
Yes, I do. Thank you for reminding me of that. We'll do a photo up against this wall down here before everybody leaves. So let's just go ahead and do that right now, and everybody can get their stuff together afterwards. Thank you.
I'll be the
That's great. All right, get that white space, that wall there. Yes, everyone. That's great. Check it out. All right. Going something. Everybody kind of act like you like each other. Okay. You see it a little bit over there? Everybody's squeezing just like that set. There we go. All right. Ready? One. One, two, three. All right. That's good. Thanks, guys.
My stuff's already here. And I. Hey, we're taking another picture.
I guess I need to. No, I don't. And I think I have a sub all day, so I don't think I'm even gonna take separate hours.
Yeah, that's me. I'm just taking a sub for all day.
Well, I did teach shirts.
I'm going.
Thank you, we're back here. Remember our hot drives, the restrooms?
Yes, well,
It's just as easy to go to.
Ask me any question, go, let's go.
we're gonna ask if I can. Because he still has left some left.
You could probably go to another too.
No, I don't.
I'm trying to see if I can get my.
Kevin, come on.
Oh, yeah, you'll need all that.
Well, I mean, I've got it.
Can you see me on there? Are you gonna walk?
Flashing red light, From YouTube. I got it streams through like his church or something, so.
But, I mean, the first time he trains you, it'll answer some of your questions. So, like I said, I actually be able to do that. I would say the latest probably Wednesday.
Okay, I've got to buy stuff for our concession, for basketball running the football concession. Little bit, hectic. We've only got one now, we used to have two, and now there's only one. So it's good money maker though.
Yeah, oh, I bet.
So,
Well, thanks for coming, man.
Yeah, appreciate it.
We'll see you.
Shut the stream off.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes,
I heard you a lot. Actually,
And I've been around a lot. Yep.
seen you a lot.
Yeah.